woman and her friend were highly disrespectful of law enforcement. You saw that. They were harassing. They were following for days and for hours. And I think, frankly, they're professional agitators.
But just
and I'd like to find out, and we are going to find out, who's paying for it.
Hans von Spakovsky, the former emperor of the Austro-Hungarian Empire.
Hans, great to have you back on this Monday morning. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing just fine, Mark.
Yes, sir. Listen, that was the president on Air Force One. He talked about the situation up in Minneapolis, and he talked about finding out who's paying for it. Bill O'Reilly said this weekend that he believes the DOJ focus here would be a RICO case, and he mentioned some pretty well-known lefties like George Soros.
Well, yeah, look, the potential is there. You cannot give funds to and train people to engage specifically in violence against federal agents. And, in fact, obstructing federal agents from being able to carry out the law is also a violation of federal law. So there's a potential case there. But, look, this violence would not be happening if state and local officials weren't preventing local law enforcement from, they don't have to assist federal agents in their immigration enforcement, but they do have to keep the peace. And when they refuse to do that, when they refuse to arrest protesters who are blocking streets and doing other things like that, that's what's going to lead to this kind of violence. So they are in large part responsible for this.
Yeah, I listened this weekend to the Portland police chief. So immediately the governor, the mayor in Portland, others came out when the two suspects got shot by ICE officers. ICE said, well, they were Tren de Aragua illegal aliens who we were after, and they tried to run over a police officer, and we shot at them. And then I have to listen to the police chief out there. Go to cut 3 briefly for us. Just play the tease portion of that for me, Ethan, please.
It saddens me that we even have to qualify these remarks, because I understand, or at least have attempted to understand through your voices, your concern, your fear, your anger.
So he's patronizing the, I guess, Hispanic community or the Venezuelan community in Portland. He's sorry that 2 Tren de Aragua gang members who were here illegally got shot, because that must pose a threat to every other Venezuelan in Portland. I don't understand how this guy is even a police chief, Hans.
Well, I don't either, but it also shows a patronizingly racist attitude. Because, look, let's not forget, TDA is one of the most dangerous criminal gangs in the world. It is a narco-terrorist gang. In fact, it's been designated as a terrorist group by the U.S. government. And this police chief is basically saying, well, these guys represent the Hispanic community there. Because that's what he's saying, the fact that 2 members of a narco-terrorist criminal gang being shot somehow reflects on the rest of the Hispanic community. I think that's a pretty racist attitude.
Yeah.
Hans, I found something interesting about how the Fed chair, Jay Powell, is saying that the DOJ has opened up a criminal investigation into him over the renovations of the Fed's headquarters. What do you make of this whole thing? I mean, this certainly would have big implications because Trump has been frustrated with him as it relates to interest rates, but his term's coming up here, I believe, is it this year later on?
Yeah, look, the Fed has basically gone so far into budgeted overruns that it's shocking. And if you saw, there was video when the president took a tour not too long ago of the renovations of the Federal Reserve. It was like they're building the Taj Mahal. It is one of the biggest wastes of federal money that I have seen. And we've been seeing a lot of wasting of federal money. So, why have there been these huge cost overruns That's worth investigating. Even if it doesn't end up in a criminal case, why have there been such huge cost overruns?
Well, I wish people could just go back and I'm sure I've got the audio here somewhere of Trump and Powell that day when Trump called him out in the news conference. He looked at him and he goes, why don't you explain this? Why don't you explain why this costs so much? Because if there's anything Donald Trump loves, it's to talk about how efficient a builder he is, right? That he could have saved all this money on the Fed. And Powell's now trying to claim that there's some sort of politics behind investigating overspending at the Fed.
But what would that charge be? I'd be curious.
Misappropriation of funds?
Well,
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, and we really can't speculate without first them doing an investigation and finding out the reasons for the huge cost overrun.
Yeah, that's a good point. Hans, I was Friday, we did a interview on here with somebody from Fox News Radio, talking about the fact that the Supreme Court had decisions released on Friday. And I don't know, I'm just a casual observer. I kind of figured it had to be one of the big ones they were trying to get out of the way earlier about tariffs and all of that, but they didn't really release anything major, right?
No, that's correct, and so we don't know when the tariff decision's coming up. But listen, the Supreme Court really is kicking into gear this week. Tomorrow, they're hearing arguments in the cases of states that banned biological males from competing in women's sports. Those two cases out of Idaho and West Virginia are probably two of the most important cases before the court, and what they decide is going to affect the laws in about 24 states. So that's a really big case, and they're up for arguments tomorrow,
including Missouri. I would point out. Hans, thank you, my friend. Have a great week.
Thanks for having me.
All right, Hans von Spakovsky, there in Washington D.C. this morning. Great to get him on here.